The war between humanity and the Zyrethian Empire had raged for years. In every corner of the galaxy, human colonies burned and cities fell. The Zyrethians were powerful, their armies vast, and their technology terrifying. But humans were stubborn. They did not give up easily, and their spirit was famous among the stars. Captain Aaron Hayes was known as one of the bravest soldiers in the United Human Defense Force. His hair was dark, his eyes steady and calm even in chaos. He was not the biggest man on the battlefield, but people followed him. They trusted him with their lives. One day, the Human Command Center received terrible news. The Zyrethians had activated a new shield generator on their main planet, Zyreth Prime. This shield would make the planet impossible to attack. If the shield stayed up, the humans would lose the war. Aaron volunteered for a secret mission. He would take a small team deep into enemy territory, sneak into the shield facility, and destroy it from the inside. It was a dangerous plan. Everyone knew that the Zyrethian guards would be everywhere, and the chances of coming back alive were very low. Still, Aaron smiled and said, "Somebody has to do it. Why not us?" On a cold night, Aaron and his team landed on Zyreth Prime. The planet was covered in black rock and red mist. The air was thick and heavy. Zyrethian patrol ships moved across the sky like silent shadows. The humans wore special suits to hide their body heat and stay invisible. They moved quickly and quietly, following the map given to them by human spies. The shield generator was inside a massive tower made of metal and crystal, guarded by hundreds of alien soldiers. Aaron and his team hid behind rocks and moved when the patrols passed. Every step brought them closer to the heart of enemy territory. Finally, they reached the tower. They placed explosives on the outer wall. The timer was set for 2 minutes. As the team ran, Zyrethian alarms blared, and bright searchlights swept across the ground. Soldiers shouted in their strange language, running towards the tower. Aaron looked back only once, seeing the walls shake and fire burst into the sky. The shield generator was destroyed. But as the humans tried to escape, a Zyrethian ship appeared above them. Bright beams of energy shot down, and the ground exploded around Aaron. He felt the force of the blast and was thrown into darkness. Back at the human base, the news came. Captain Aaron Hayes was missing. His team had not returned. The shield was down, but the hero who made it possible was gone. Across the galaxy, humans mourned their loss, never knowing what truly happened to Aaron in the heart of the enemy world. The news spread fast. Captain Aaron Hayes was declared dead. The Human Defense Force released a statement. They said Aaron had died during the mission on Zyreth Prime. The shield generator was destroyed, but their best soldier did not come back. On Earth, the cities were quiet. People watched the news in their homes, their faces sad. Children who dreamed of becoming soldiers looked down. Veterans lowered their heads. Aaron was a hero to many. His courage had inspired hope when things looked dark. Meanwhile, far away on Zyreth Prime, the Zyrethian Empire celebrated. Queen Serial, a tall and fierce woman with sharp eyes, stood on a huge balcony inside her palace. Behind her, the sky was full of ships and soldiers cheering. She smiled cruelly at the reports. "The human is dead," she said to her advisors. "Their hope is gone. The war is ours." She ordered her messengers to send video messages to the galaxy. The videos showed the destruction of the shield generator. In the footage, the building exploded in fire and smoke. The Queen's voice echoed, "Your hero is gone. Your resistance will end." The message was clear. The humans were defeated. But not everyone believed the story. In the outer colonies, some soldiers and spies whispered about strange sightings. A man who looked like Aaron was seen near the ruins of the shield facility. But the reports were too small and unclear. Many thought it was just a trick to raise hope. Back on Earth, Aaron's family gathered quietly. His mother stared at a worn picture of her son. "He was brave," she said softly, tears in her eyes. "He did what no one else could." His best friend, Lieutenant Mara Collins, refused to believe Aaron was gone. "Aaron doesn't give up," she said. "If he is alive, I will find him." The human defense force began to prepare for the next battle. They knew the Xyrethians were stronger now, but Aaron's sacrifice had bought time. Soldiers trained harder, and engineers worked to build new weapons. Even in his absence, Aaron's name was spoken with respect and hope. Songs and stories about his last mission spread through human space. But somewhere deep inside Xyreth Prime, Aaron was not dead. He was hiding, wounded but alive. He did not know how long he could survive, or who might find him. The war was far from over. Aaron woke slowly. The pain in his body was sharp but dull at the same time. His head throbbed. The last thing he remembered was the blast, then darkness. Now he was lying on a cold, rough floor. Around him, the air smelled strange, dusty, damp, and a little sweet. He tried to move, but his body was weak. Suddenly, soft footsteps came near. A small group of beings appeared. Some looked like humans, but others were different, with pale skin and big eyes. They wore simple clothes, nothing like the Xyrethian soldiers. They spoke quietly in a strange language, but one of them, a man named Callan, spoke some human words. "You are alive," Callan said, helping Aaron to sit up. "We found you in the ruins. You are badly hurt." Aaron looked around and saw more figures emerging from the shadows. They were members of the underground, a secret group of enslaved aliens and rebels hiding from the Xyrethian Empire. They had been watching Aaron's mission from afar and had saved him when they could. "We work in the tunnels beneath Xyreth Prime," Callan explained. "The Queen's soldiers do not know about us. We are small, but we have hope." Aaron nodded weakly. He realized he was in enemy territory, but for the first time, he was not alone. Days passed. The underground people gave Aaron food and medicine. Slowly, his strength returned. He learned about their lives, how the Xyrethian Empire had captured their worlds and forced them to work as slaves or soldiers. Many had lost family and friends. They wanted freedom, but they were afraid. Aaron shared stories about Earth and the human fight against the Empire. His presence gave the underground new courage. They began to believe that maybe, just maybe, the war could be won. One evening, Aaron sat by a small fire with Callan and a few others. "We need to fight back," Aaron said. "Not just for ourselves, but for all the enslaved planets." Callan nodded. "We have tried before, but the Queen's power is strong." Aaron smiled slightly. "Power is nothing without heart. We will find a way." The underground started helping Aaron plan. They gathered weapons from old stores and created new tools from scrap. Aaron trained the rebels in combat and tactics. He taught them about teamwork, patience, and hope. But Aaron knew time was short. The Queen would soon discover that her shield was down, and she would search for him. If she found him alive, the war could change forever. Deep inside the tunnels, Aaron prepared for what was next, a fight not just to survive, but to rise. Aaron moved quietly through the dim tunnels beneath Xyreth Prime. The underground was a maze of narrow paths, old machinery, and hidden rooms. The air was cool but filled with the sounds of whispered voices and distant footsteps. It was a dangerous place, but for Aaron, it was home now. The people here were not like the soldiers he had fought before. They were slaves and refugees from many different planets. Some had green skin, some had scales, and others looked almost like humans but with strange eyes. They all shared one thing. They wanted freedom from the cruel rule of Queen Xeriel. Aaron met with the leaders of the underground, including Callan, a wise and calm man, and Mira, a fierce fighter with sharp eyes. Together, they planned a rebellion. Aaron's mission had destroyed the shield, but the fight was far from over. Now, they had to take back their worlds. "We cannot win with soldiers alone," Aaron said. "We need all who suffer under the Empire to stand with us." At first, many were afraid. Years of fear and slavery had made them doubt themselves, but Aaron's courage was strong, and his words gave them hope. Slowly, more groups joined their cause. Miners, engineers, even some former Zyrethian soldiers who no longer believed in the Queen's cruelty. Aaron knew that uniting such different beings would be difficult. They spoke different languages, had different customs, and sometimes did not trust each other. But he was patient. He showed them that their common enemy was stronger than their differences. In the weeks that followed, Aaron and the underground worked hard. They repaired old weapons and built new ones from scraps. They trained every day, learning to fight together. They planned strikes on supply lines and communication towers. Each success, no matter how small, spread hope through the enslaved worlds. One night, as Aaron looked out over a hidden city in the tunnels, Mira came to him. "The Queen's forces are searching for you," she warned. "They are getting closer." Aaron nodded. "Then we must be ready. The rebellion will not wait." He sent scouts to watch the Queen's soldiers and messengers to spread their message of freedom across the galaxy. Slowly, the spark of rebellion grew into a flame. Aaron thought of Earth and the soldiers waiting for news. He hoped his survival would inspire others to keep fighting. The underground was no longer just a hiding place. It was the beginning of a new hope for the galaxy. Queen Zerial sat on her throne, her sharp eyes scanning the reports brought by her scouts. The news unsettled her more than she liked to admit. Whispers of a human soldier alive, Captain Aaron Hayes, were growing louder. His name had become a symbol of hope for the oppressed, and his survival was sparking rebellion across her empire. "The human should be dead," she said sharply, her voice echoing in the grand hall. "Why is he still alive?" Her advisors shuffled nervously. One stepped forward. "Your Majesty, the underground rebels have grown bolder. They have destroyed supply lines and freed prisoners. The people whisper of a leader, this Aaron. We believe he is alive." Zerial's lips tightened. She was not used to being challenged, and this news felt like a threat to her power. "We cannot allow this to continue," she commanded. "Find him. Capture him. End this rebellion before it spreads further." Her soldiers increased patrols and searched the tunnels deeper than before. They interrogated anyone suspected of helping the rebels. Fear gripped many, but it only made the underground's message stronger. The people wanted freedom, and Aaron's presence reminded them it was possible. Meanwhile, Aaron trained his growing army in the hidden underground city. The rebels practiced their attacks, moving silently through the tunnels and planning carefully. They knew the Queen's forces were strong, but they had something more powerful: hope and courage. One day, Aaron met with a group of former Zyrethian soldiers who had switched sides. They'd brought information about the Queen's movements and weaknesses. Aaron listened carefully, knowing this intelligence could turn the tide of war. "Zerial fears us," one soldier said quietly. "She never imagined a human could survive and inspire so many." Aaron smiled. "That fear is our strength. We will use it." The rebels struck again, sabotaging a major supply depot. Explosions lit up the night sky, and the Queen's forces scrambled to respond. Her fear grew, and she began to doubt her once unshakable control. At the same time, messages from Earth and other human worlds arrived, praising Aaron's bravery. These words spread like wildfire, encouraging humans and aliens alike to join the fight for freedom. Queen Zerial stood again on her balcony, watching her empire slowly slip away. Her scream of anger and fear echoed through the palace halls. "You were supposed to be dead." The spark of rebellion became a blazing fire. Aaron and his allies moved with speed and courage. Wherever the Queen's soldiers ruled harshly, the rebels struck quietly but powerfully. In the underground tunnels and on the surface, small groups of freed slaves and rebels rose up. They destroyed supply trucks, blocked patrol routes, and spread messages of hope. Aaron's voice, carried by secret radios, called for unity and bravery. The rebellion was no longer just a secret. It was growing fast. The Xyrethian Empire's control began to weaken. In some cities, the people openly refused to obey orders. Soldiers who once served the queen started to question their loyalty. Some even joined the rebels. Aaron led raids against the Empire's weapons factories, cutting off supplies to the queen's armies. The rebels used clever tactics: surprise attacks, traps, and hit-and-run strikes. They knew they could not match the Empire in size or power, so they used their wits. At night, the underground city buzzed with preparation. New fighters trained with Aaron and his closest commanders. The rebels learned to fight as one, humans and aliens together. The bonds of friendship and trust grew stronger with every battle. One evening, as Aaron studied a map of the capital city, Callan came to him with urgent news. The queen is sending her elite forces. They want to crush the rebellion quickly. Aaron's jaw tightened. Then we must be ready to face them. We will not back down. The queen's elite soldiers were fierce and well-trained. They marched into rebel-held areas with heavy weapons and armored vehicles. The battles were fierce, and many lives were lost. But the rebels fought with a strength born from hope and freedom. As the fighting spread, stories of Aaron's survival and leadership inspired more people to join the cause. From distant planets, messages arrived offering support and supplies. The rebellion was no longer a small band of fighters. It was a movement. Queen Zerial watched helplessly as her empire slipped through her fingers. The fear that Aaron would defeat her grew stronger each day. She ordered her commanders to find the human soldier alive or dead. But Aaron was not just surviving. He was winning. The war was no longer about control. It was about freedom, hope, and the courage of a few who dared to stand against an empire. The Xyrethian Empire was losing ground fast. The rebellion led by Captain Aaron Hayes had grown into a powerful force. The Queen's once mighty armies were stretched thin, fighting battles on many fronts. For the first time, the people of Xyreth Prime saw their rulers as vulnerable. Queen Zerial's fury was fierce. She paced her throne room, her sharp eyes flashing with anger. How can one human and a few rebels cause so much damage? She demanded. We must end this now. Her advisors warned that the rebellion was fueled by hope and unity. They fight because they believe they can win, one said quietly. If we crush their leaders, the rest will fall apart. Zerial nodded. Then find Aaron Hayes. Capture him alive if you can. If not, destroy him. Make an example. The Queen's forces launched a brutal campaign. Cities were bombed. Rebellion leaders were hunted without mercy. The skies above Xyreth Prime were filled with warships, their weapons ready to strike. But the rebels refused to give up. Aaron knew the cost of war, but he also knew that surrender meant slavery for millions. We fight for freedom, he told his commanders. We fight for the future. The rebels used guerrilla tactics to avoid large battles. They hid fast and disappeared into the tunnels and forests. Their knowledge of the land was better than the Empire's. Small victories gave them hope, but the losses weighed heavily. Mira, Aaron's trusted fighter, stood beside him one evening. We cannot hold out much longer, she said, her voice quiet. The Empire's attacks grow stronger every day. Aaron looked at the faces of his fighters. They were tired but determined. We will hold, he said firmly. We have to. Desperation made the Queen reckless. She ordered her commanders to target civilian areas suspected of helping rebels. The violence shocked many, even some soldiers who began to question their orders. The rebellion's support grew as more people saw the Empire's cruelty. Refugees fled to rebel camps. The underground tunnels became crowded with those seeking safety and a chance to fight back. Aaron sent messages to Earth and allied planets, asking for help. Supplies and reinforcements were slow but steady. The fight was far from over. One night, Aaron stood on a cliff overlooking the capital city. The lights glowed below like stars. He clenched his fists and whispered, "This ends soon, one way or another." The Empire was desperate, but so was the rebellion. The next battle would decide the fate of many worlds. The grand hall of Queen Zerial's palace was silent except for the heavy footsteps of Captain Aaron Hayes. The walls were lined with tall pillars carved from black stone, glowing faintly with alien symbols. At the far end, the queen sat on her throne, regal and fierce, her eyes fixed on the man who had dared to enter her domain. Aaron's armor was worn and scratched, but his eyes burned with determination. He had fought his way through the queen's guards, surviving countless battles to stand here today. The air was thick with tension. "You were supposed to be dead," Queen Zerial hissed, rising from her throne. Her voice was sharp, filled with disbelief and anger. "How did you survive?" Aaron met her gaze steadily. "You underestimated us," he said simply. "Your empire is strong, but your cruelty is its weakness." The queen's lips curled into a bitter smile. "You think you can defeat me? You are only one man, and your rebels are scattered." Aaron shook his head. "We are more than one man. We are many, united by hope and the desire for freedom. Your empire rules with fear. We fight with courage." Zerial's eyes narrowed. "You are a threat to everything I built. Surrender now, and I might spare your life." Aaron took a step forward. "I did not come to surrender. I came to end this war." The queen raised her hand, signaling her guards to attack. But Aaron was ready. He moved swiftly, blocking their strikes and using their momentum against them. The fight was fierce, but Aaron's training and determination won the day. One by one, the guards fell. Breathing heavily, Aaron turned back to the queen. She stood alone now, her face pale but proud. "You cannot win," she said. "My armies will crush you and your rebellion." Aaron replied, "Not if they join us instead." He gestured to the palace doors. Outside, he could hear the sound of soldiers approaching. Many had switched sides, inspired by the rebellion. Zerial's eyes widened. She had lost control. Aaron spoke softly but firmly. "There is still a choice. You can end the suffering by stepping down and allowing your people to rebuild." The queen looked around her empty throne room. For the first time, doubt touched her heart. The empire she had ruled with iron was breaking. Finally, she lowered her gaze and said quietly, "What happens now?" Aaron smiled. "Now we build a new future, one where all can live free." The doors opened, and rebel leaders entered. They surrounded Aaron, ready to take the next step. The war was not over, but the meeting between the human soldier and the alien queen marked a new beginning for the galaxy. After the tense meeting in the throne room, the news spread quickly through the Zyrethian Empire. Captain Aaron Hayes was alive, standing before the queen and challenging her rule. The rebellion's hope grew stronger with every passing hour. Aaron and the rebel leaders gathered in the palace's war room, a large chamber filled with maps, screens, and communication devices. They planned the next moves carefully. Their goal was clear: to end the war and free the people of the empire from Queen Zerial's cruel rule. Aaron spoke with calm authority. "We have the chance to change everything. The queen's soldiers are tired and confused. Many want peace. We must offer them a future worth fighting for." Mira, Aaron's trusted fighter, nodded. "We need to reach out to those still loyal to the queen and show them a better way." Messages were sent across the empire, broadcasting Aaron's offer of peace and freedom to all soldiers and citizens. They were invited to join the new alliance and rebuild their worlds together. At first, some refused. They were loyal to the queen and feared change. But as more soldiers defected to the rebellion, the tide turned. In the capital city, crowds gathered in the streets, cheering for freedom. Former prisoners were released, and people began to rebuild what the war had destroyed. The once feared Queen's palace was now a symbol of hope. Queen Zerial, once proud and unyielding, faced her people. She made a public speech, stepping down from power and asking for forgiveness. Many were shocked, but it opened the door to peace. Aaron stood beside her, ready to help guide the empire into a new era. The rebellion was no longer a fight. It was a movement to heal and unite. As peace talks began, Aaron received messages from Earth and other human worlds. They promised support to rebuild the war-torn regions and help those displaced by the conflict. The people of the Zyrethyan Empire began to believe in a future where humans and aliens lived side by side, not as enemies, but as friends and allies. Aaron looked at the stars, knowing the road ahead was long. But for the first time in a long time, hope was real. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of this new beginning. The galaxy breathed a sigh of relief. The war that had torn apart worlds was finally over. Captain Aaron Hayes stood on the steps of the newly rebuilt council hall on Zereth Prime, looking out at the crowd gathered before him. Humans and aliens stood side by side, their faces filled with hope and determination. Aaron felt a deep sense of peace. He had fought for years, lost friends, and faced impossible odds. But now, the dream of freedom was becoming real. Queen Serial, once the feared ruler of the Zyrethyan Empire, stood beside him. Though she was no longer queen, she had chosen to help rebuild her people and make peace with the galaxy. Her expression was serious but calm, showing the weight of her decisions. "Today," Aaron said, his voice clear and strong, "we begin a new chapter. A chapter where all beings, no matter where they come from, can live without fear. We fought hard for this moment, and now it is ours to protect." The crowd cheered, their voices rising in a powerful chorus. Children waved flags, and elders smiled with tears in their eyes. The scars of war were still visible, but they were healing. Aaron thought about Earth, the planet where he had started his journey. Humans there had never given up on hope. They had shown courage even when the odds were against them. Now, humans were not just survivors. They were leaders and friends to many alien worlds. Together, the new council planned to rebuild the damaged planets, create fair laws, and ensure justice for all. Trade between worlds would grow, and cultures would mix and learn from each other. Education and peace were their goals. As the sun set over Zyreth Prime, Aaron looked up at the stars. He knew challenges would come, but he also knew that the spirit of unity and hope was stronger than any darkness. The human soldier who was once supposed to be dead had changed the galaxy. His survival and courage had inspired a movement that no empire could stop. A new dawn had come, not just for one planet or one species, but for all who dreamed of freedom among the stars.